The old man next door left me a letter, and a lifetime of wisdom. When I moved into the duplex, I was running away from a life I no longer recognized. It was the dead of summer. I remember because the air was thick with humidity and regret. I had just ended a 5-year relationship that had become a slow-motion disaster. We were supposed to move in together, get engaged, build a life, but he cheated, and I found out through a friend's blurry Instagram story. My job at the bookstore had cut my hours, my friends were either coupled up or distant, and my anxiety was eating me alive. I packed my car with what I could fit, drove to a city I didn't know, and rented the cheapest place I could find on short notice, a creaky old duplex tucked between a rundown gas station and a quiet park. I didn't move in with hope, I moved in with numbness. The duplex was fine. Wood floors with too many scratches, a faint smell of mothballs and lemon cleaner, and a heater that sounded like it was powered by ghosts. But it was mine. And next door, in the mirror image of my unit, lived Mr. Thomas. He was an old man. Quiet. Wore suspenders. Always had a newspaper tucked under one arm and a thermos in the other. The kind of man you'd expect to see on a porch with a pipe and a lifetime of secrets. I saw him on the first morning, watering the scraggly wildflowers by his steps. He waved at me. I didn't wave back. Not because I was rude, but because I was exhausted. But Mr. Thomas never stopped trying. At first, it was just small gestures. A nod. A wave. A newspaper left near my door during a rainstorm. Then one day, after he heard me coughing through the walls, thanks, dusty air vents, he knocked gently and handed me a jar of homemade honey. "Bees are better pharmacists than doctors," he said with a wink. That made me smile, and it terrified me. It had been so long since someone did something kind for me without expecting anything in return. Eventually, I started responding. Quietly at first. A thank you. A smile. One day I offered him a banana bread loaf I'd baked while procrastinating a paper for grad school. He ate it in front of me on his porch, closed his eyes like it was a 5-star dessert, and said, "This makes up for every bad cafeteria meal I ever had in the army." And just like that, an unlikely friendship began. We never sat down for heart-to-hearts. It was more of a passing connection, a shared glance, a quick chat while checking the mail, trading baked goods and little notes. He gave me advice on my squeaky screen door, taught me how to fix a leaky faucet, and left weather warnings taped to my mailbox like it was his personal duty to protect me from nature. Still, I knew nothing about his life. Every time I asked, he deflected. "No kids," I asked once. "None that stuck around," he said with a far-off look, then changed the subject. There was something lonely in him, something buried deep. But I didn't push. I figured if he wanted me to know, he'd tell me in his own time. And then, one morning in early February, I noticed his porch light was still on at 10 a.m. That was strange. He was always up by dawn. Porch light off by 7:30. Newspaper collected by 7:45. But that morning, nothing moved. No creak of the screen door. No shuffle of boots on wood. No humming through the vents. Just silence. I waited. By lunchtime, I knew something was wrong. I called the non-emergency line. I still remember the look the responding officer gave me when I explained why I was worried, his porch lights on. They entered his unit. 15 minutes later, 2 more cops arrived. Then a coroner. Mr. Thomas had passed away in his sleep. Peacefully, they said. In his favorite recliner, TV remote in hand, a blanket folded neatly across his lap. The screen was still glowing with the credits of an old black and white western. I stood in my doorway and watched as they wheeled him out, my heart shattering in silence. I didn't even know his first name. The duplex felt empty after that. Colder. Like the soul had been scooped out of it. The wildflowers by his porch started to wilt. His screen door banged in the wind like it was trying to call him back. Then, the morning after his passing, I found a letter in my mailbox. It had no stamp, no address, just my name, Clara, in that unmistakable shaky handwriting. I read the letter on my porch steps, the same steps he used to sit on every morning. The envelope smelled faintly like pipe tobacco and lemon. Dear Clara. If you're reading this, I've probably kicked the bucket. Hopefully it was quick, and I didn't make too much of a mess. I've always hated cleaning. You probably think this is strange, but I've been writing this letter on and off for months. You reminded me of my daughter, Lily. She had the same tired eyes. The kind that hold too much for someone so young. She passed when she was 23, just like you. Drunk driver. She wanted to be an artist. She had a laugh that could make birds land just to listen. You had that look when you moved in, the same one I had for years after she died. Lost. Hollowed out. Trying to pretend it doesn't hurt. I saw you sitting on your floor once, surrounded by moving boxes, crying into a takeout bag. I didn't mean to spy, I swear. But I knew that pain. I lived with it for decades. He went on to describe how he had wanted to reach out sooner but was afraid. That he didn't want to scare me off. That watching me slowly come back to life, from watering dying plants to walking with my chin a little higher, helped him more than I could ever know. You gave me someone to look out for. A reason to wake up and check the mail. To bake again. To smile at something other than reruns of Moss *H. I hope you make something beautiful out of your pain. I hope you don't let the world make you hard. And I hope you remember that even in your loneliest moments, someone saw you. Really saw you. At the bottom of the letter, in trembling ink, was a list titled, Things I Wish I'd Said Sooner. Don't wait to say I love you. If you're thinking it, say it. Stop pretending to be fine when you're drowning. Drink the good wine. Even if it's Tuesday. Laugh loud. Cry ugly. Forgive even when it hurts. Keep the people who check on you just because. Tell your story. Even if your voice shakes. Then, in one final line. The world's better with you in it. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. I wept. For him. For his daughter. For the version of me I had abandoned. And as I held the letter to my chest, I realized I wasn't just grieving a neighbor. I was grieving the first person who'd made me feel seen in a very long time. A week later, a lawyer contacted me. Mr. Thomas had left a small sum in his will for me. Just enough, he said, for something unnecessary, joyful, and a little rebellious. So I bought a train ticket and took a solo trip along the coast. I brought watercolors and tried to paint the sunrise every morning. I poured his ashes, just a pinch I was given, into the sea on the windiest day. The rest went to a cemetery, next to a headstone that simply read, Thomas Bennett. 1928 to 2024. Kindness costs nothing. The wind chimes are gone now. The wildflowers have faded. But sometimes, when I feel alone, I reread his letter and remember that once, when I was broken, a quiet old man next door left me a legacy of love in a handwritten note. TLDR, after moving into a duplex post-breakup and at my lowest, I developed a quiet but meaningful friendship with my elderly neighbor. When he passed away unexpectedly, I found a heartfelt letter from him in my mailbox, filled with wisdom, grief for his lost daughter, and messages of kindness and hope. He left me a small inheritance to do something joyful, and his final words helped me begin to heal.